For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a summer morning in 1996, 10-year-old Mateo Rivera and his older brother, eager tourists on a history tour, slipped from their docent group near a shaded arcade at the Alamo in San Antonio, TX. They never reappeared. Despite an immediate and extensive investigation by local law enforcement, aided by countless volunteers meticulously searching every corner of the historic grounds, the brothers simply vanished without a trace. For 20 long, harrowing years, the Rivera family lived with agonizing uncertainty, their lives consumed by a desperate search and haunting unanswered questions, clinging to a fragile glimmer of hope. Then, in 2016, a startling discovery was made. A tarnished commemorative medal, found wedged behind a loose mission brick deep within the very walls of the Alamo, hinting at a dark truth long buried. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Mateo and his brother. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. In the sweltering summer of 1996, San Antonio, Texas, shimmered under an unforgiving sun. At its historic core stood the Alamo, a revered shrine of Texas liberty, a place where the echoes of a fierce battle resonated through ancient stone. Millions annually walked its hallowed grounds, drawn by the profound narrative of courage and sacrifice. For families seeking a blend of education and adventure, it remained an irresistible destination, a seemingly impenetrable bastion of history. Among the many visitors that particular August morning were the Rivera brothers. 10-year-old Mateo, the younger, his wide, curious eyes reflecting the architectural grandeur around him, walked alongside his older brother. Both were brimming with the excitement of a day spent immersed in the past, part of a larger summer history tour group, a common sight at the iconic mission. They were eager to absorb tales of frontier defiance and heroism. Their docent, Helen Griggs, a woman whose passion for Texan history was as palpable as the pervasive humidity, guided the bustling group through the sun-drenched courtyard. Children darted playfully between adults, their laughter momentarily breaking the solemn silence of the sacred grounds. The tour progressed towards a shaded arcade, a cool respite from the intense heat, where the stone arches promised both shelter and further historical insights into the mission's daily life. It was there, amidst the ebb and flow of the tour group, that the seemingly innocuous occurred. For a fleeting moment, as Docent Griggs paused to address a question from a parent, the Rivera brothers, perhaps distracted by a detail in the shadows or simply drifting a few steps behind, slipped away from the periphery of the main group. Their departure was not dramatic. It was a quiet, unobserved separation, a momentary lapse in supervision within the crowded, open space. Yet the consequence was immediate and absolute. They simply never reappeared. Within minutes, a ripple of unease spread through the group. Docent Griggs, conducting a routine head count, discovered the two boys missing. The initial concern quickly escalated into frantic alarm. Calls of Mateo, and where are they, echoed through the arcade. Adults, their faces etched with sudden fear, began retracing their steps, scanning every nook and cranny of the immediate area. The groundskeepers, including Arturo Peña, were alerted, and a rapid, desperate search of the courtyard commenced. But the vastness of the Alamo, usually a source of awe, now felt menacing. Every archway, every shadowed corner, every historical exhibit was scrutinized, but yielded no trace. The chilling reality set in with a profound and horrifying clarity. Two young boys had vanished, not from some remote wilderness, but from the very heart of one of America's most iconic and seemingly secure historical landmarks. The Alamo, a symbol of defiant stand, had become the site of an inexplicable disappearance. The initial alarm, a frantic whisper among the tour group, swiftly escalated into a full-blown emergency. Within moments of the boys' disappearance being confirmed, the Alamo, typically a sanctuary of history, transformed into an active crime scene. San Antonio Police Department cruisers converged on the landmark, their flashing lights a stark contrast against the ancient stone walls, signaling the gravity of the situation. His was no longer a simple missing persons report. It was a desperate search for two vanished children. Leading the charge was Detective Celine Ward, a seasoned SAPD investigator known for her meticulous approach and unwavering resolve. Her arrival brought a methodical urgency to the burgeoning chaos. Her first priority was to secure the site, preventing any potential contamination of evidence, even as the search for Mateo and his brother intensified. Every inch of the Alamo's sprawling grounds, from its revered chapel to the outer walls, the courtyard, and especially the shaded arcade where they were last seen, was systematically scoured. Law enforcement officers, joined by groundskeepers like Arturo Peña, and a growing contingent of volunteers, moved with a grim determination, their eyes scanning every shadow, every crevice, every potential hiding spot. No stone remained unturned, no bush unexamined, but the boys were simply not there. Detective Ward immediately began interviewing key witnesses. Docent Helen Griggs, still visibly shaken and blaming herself, recounted the moments leading up to the disappearance, her memory already fragmented by shock. Groundsman Arturo Peña described the layout of the complex and confirmed the limited access points during public hours. Other tour members offered vague recollections of two boys, but nothing concrete, no suspicious figures, no unusual sounds. Their accounts, while earnest, yielded no immediate leads, no definitive clues that could pierce the veil of uncertainty. As the hours bled into the late afternoon, then evening, early theories began to surface and were rigorously pursued. Had the boys, in their youthful exuberance, wandered off the grounds unnoticed? This was quickly dismissed. Security at the Alamo, though perhaps not as stringent as modern standards, was significant, and no one recalled them exiting. Had they fallen into an unseen crevice or an old well? Extensive searches of such areas proved fruitless. The most chilling possibility, abduction, loomed large, but there was no struggle, no witness, no sign of forced removal. Each theory, explored with increasing desperation, yielded no evidence, only further questions. The relentless passage of time without success deepened the sense of dread. As darkness enveloped San Antonio, casting long shadows over the Alamo, the absence of Mateo and his brother became an agonizing, palpable weight. The initial hours, critical in any missing persons case, slipped away, leaving behind only frustration and a growing, suffocating fear for their fate. The investigation, barely begun, was already facing an impenetrable wall of silence. The initial frantic searches yielded nothing. Days blurred into weeks, then weeks into agonizing months, each sunrise bringing renewed, yet ultimately dashed hope. The relentless march of time, usually a healer, became a torturer for the Rivera family, prolonging their unbearable uncertainty. Detective Celine Ward, a woman accustomed to confronting the darkest aspects of humanity, found herself increasingly frustrated by the impenetrable wall surrounding the disappearance of Mateo and his brother. Her team had exhausted every conventional avenue. Hundreds of interviews were conducted, background checks performed on everyone from Alamo staff to frequent visitors, and surveillance footage from surrounding businesses meticulously reviewed, though the technology of 1996 offered limited clarity. Every lead, no matter how tenuous, was pursued to its logical conclusion, only to unravel into another dead end. Every theory, from accidental wandering to calculated abduction, was explored, dissected, and ultimately found lacking any definitive evidence to support it. The initial media frenzy, which had plastered the boys' faces across local and national news, gradually began to recede. As other stories emerged and new tragedies captured the public's attention, the disappearance of the Rivera brothers slowly faded from the headlines. For the family, however, the agony remained constant, a silent, perpetual scream in the quiet of their lives. The case, once a priority, began its slow, inevitable descent into the archives. Boxes of meticulously compiled reports, witness statements, evidence logs, and forensic analyses, representing thousands of man-hours and countless unanswered questions, were eventually labeled and shelved. The physical manifestation of an unresolved mystery, these files became a test, aimed to a police investigation that had, despite its best efforts, reached an impasse. The Alamo itself, an enduring symbol of Texan pride, continued its daily operations, welcoming tourists and history enthusiasts. Yet for those aware of the unresolved tragedy, it carried a heavier, more somber air. It stood as a silent, unyielding witness to an enduring mystery, its ancient stones holding secrets that refused to be surrendered. For Detective Ward, the case became a gnawing professional failure, a constant reminder of the two young lives that had simply evaporated under her watch. The unanswered questions haunted her, joining the many others that define the life of a cold case detective. After nearly 2 decades, with no new evidence emerging and all leads exhausted, the disappearance of Mateo and his brother was officially declared a cold case, a tragic enigma destined to linger in the annals of San Antonio's unsolved mysteries, a haunting stain on the city's historical heart. 2 decades had passed since the Rivera brothers vanished from the Alamo. The initial shock had long since faded into a quiet ache, a historical footnote for many, but a gaping wound for those who remembered. The Alamo itself, impervious to human sorrow, continued its timeless existence. Millions more visitors had walked its grounds, unaware of the silent tragedy etched into its modern history. The Mission Complex, meticulously maintained, seemed to defy the passage of time, its ancient walls steadfast against the relentless Texas sun. Life at the historic site moved on, seemingly untouched by the haunting mystery of 1996, its daily rhythm of tour and historical reenactments a constant, comforting hum. Then, in the spring of 2016, a routine maintenance check in the shaded arcade near where the brothers were last seen led to an unexpected discovery. A groundskeeper, methodically inspecting the integrity of the aging brickwork, noticed a single brick subtly dislodged from its mortar bed, just enough to create a slim, shadowed crevice. With a practiced hand, he gently pulled it free to reseat it. It was then that he saw it, a small, tarnished commemorative medal wedged deeply behind the loose mission brick. Its metallic surface was dull with age, obscured by a fine layer of dust and grit, but its circular shape and raised inscription were still discernible. Initially, the medal might have been dismissed as a forgotten trinket, perhaps a lost souvenir from a long-ago visitor, a common occurrence in a place teeming with tourists. Its historical design, however, suggested a certain age, and its unusual hiding place behind a structural brick was peculiar. The groundskeeper, a veteran of the Alamo's maintenance crew, knew that such an item, found in such a precise and hidden location, warranted a closer look. He reported the finding to his supervisor, who in turn contacted the site's security team. The medal's condition and its exact location, within the very arcade where Mateo and his brother had last been seen, quickly raised questions that transcended a simple lost and found scenario. The security chief, familiar with the enduring cold case, immediately recognized the potential significance. A call was placed to the San Antonio Police Department, specifically to the cold case unit that still held the Rivera file. The small, unassuming object, once merely a piece of forgotten metal, suddenly pulsed with a renewed, electrifying potential. After 20 years of silence, a tarnished metal, hidden behind a loose brick, had unexpectedly blasted open one of San Antonio's most enduring and heartbreaking cold cases, transforming a forgotten relic into a beacon of long-awaited hope. The tarnished metal, once a forgotten trinket, now held the weight of 2 decades of unanswered questions. Its discovery forced the San Antonio Police Department to confront a haunting past, officially reopening the cold case of the vanished Rivera brothers. Detective Celine Ward, now a veteran of the force, had never truly closed the file in her own mind. The enduring mystery had been a professional shadow, and the call confirming the medal's finding reignited a familiar, urgent resolve within her. She was once again at the helm of an investigation she had believed was lost to time. The medal immediately became the central piece of evidence, handled with extreme care. It was swiftly transported to the SAPD's forensic laboratory, where a team of specialists began a meticulous examination. Every millimeter of its surface, every crevice, was scrutinized for DNA, fingerprints, or any microscopic trace material that could link it to Mateo, his brother, or a potential third party. Its composition, its age, and the specifics of its commemorative inscription were all subjected to rigorous analysis, hoping to glean context from the small, silent artifact. Simultaneously, investigators descended upon the Alamo once more, returning to the precise location in the shaded arcade where the loose mission brick had concealed its secret. This was not merely a revisit. It was a re-examination with fresh eyes and a tangible clue. The area was meticulously cordoned off, and a systematic forensic sweep commenced. Beyond the metal itself, the mortar dust from the dislodged brick, along with samples from the surrounding stonework in the ground below, were carefully collected. These environmental samples held the potential for crucial material clues, perhaps dust unique to the time of the disappearance or fibers unseen by the initial search teams. The passage of 20 years presented formidable challenges. Memories had faded, potential witnesses had moved or passed away, and the site itself had undergone countless hours of public interaction and maintenance. Original forensic technologies were rudimentary compared to modern capabilities, meaning much of the initial evidence collection would now be re-evaluated through a contemporary lens. Degradation of potential organic material over 2 decades was a significant concern. Yet, despite these inherent difficulties, the presence of a new, tangible piece of evidence after such a prolonged silence injected a powerful, renewed energy into the long-dormant investigation. The medal, a small echo from 1996, had not only reopened a cold case, but had also rekindled a desperate hope that the truth, however painful, might finally be within reach. The forensic laboratory's report arrived, a thick document that held the potential to either confirm the medal's insignificance or shatter 2 decades of silence. Detective Ward, her gaze fixed on the technical jargon, found her attention caught by a specific detail regarding the mortar dust collected from behind the loose brick. The analysis was unequivocal. The dust contained a distinct chemical signature of modern lime. This was not the original 18th century mortar, nor was it consistent with common construction materials used in 1996 for general repairs. Its composition pointed to a specific, contemporary batch, suggesting a much more recent intervention than the disappearance itself. This revelation was the first true crack in the cold case. It meant the brick had been disturbed and remortared at a time much closer to the metal's placement or even its concealment than initially assumed. Investigators immediately pivoted their focus. The question shifted from who took the boys to who was working on that specific section of the arcade and when. A painstaking review of the Alamo's maintenance logs, often incomplete for minor or short-lived repair projects, began. It was a search for any record of work on the arcade brickwork that would align with the modern lime's chemical footprint. After weeks of sifting through archived work orders, invoices, and even informal groundskeeper notes from the late 1990s and early 2000s, a record emerged. A small, uncatalogued repair project, commissioned to an external contractor for minor brick stabilization in the shaded arcade, had taken place in the months following the Rivera brothers' disappearance. The project was brief, lasting only a few days, and involved a small crew. This was the missing link. The next step was to cross-reference the contractor badges issued for that specific project. The Alamo, like any secure facility, required personnel identification for access, even for short-term workers. Digging through old security gate logs and badge registers from that precise period proved arduous, but ultimately yielded a critical detail. The contractor records indicated that during their off-hours deliveries and work, this specific crew had utilized a seldom-used side gate. This gate, located away from the main public entrances and not monitored during operating hours, provided an unobserved access point directly into the rear of the mission complex, near the very arcade where the brothers had vanished. The modern lime, the short-lived repair, and the off-hours side gate converged to paint a chilling picture. The forensic evidence, combined with meticulous archival work, had finally exposed an undeniable link, suggesting an inside operation and a carefully planned abduction hidden in plain sight, setting the stage for the truth to be unearthed. The convergence of the modern lime, the short-lived repair project, the specific contractor badges, and the exposed side gate finally brought into sharp focus the chilling sequence of events. The meticulous forensic analysis had revealed that the brick concealing the metal had been remortared with material consistent with a repair project that occurred in the months immediately following the Rivera brothers' disappearance. This was no coincidence. The individual connected to the contractor badges, exploiting the lax security around an off-hours entry point, had used the side gate for purposes far more sinister than mere deliveries. This access allowed them to move unnoticed into the rear of the mission complex, directly into the vicinity of the shaded arcade where Mateo and his brother had last been seen. The truth, painstakingly reconstructed from fragments of evidence, was profoundly disturbing. It became clear that the abduction of the Rivera brothers was not a random act, but a meticulously planned operation, exploiting a momentary lapse in supervision and the unique access afforded by the repair project. The individual, posing as a legitimate worker, had used the side gate to enter the complex, carefully observing the tour groups. When the brothers briefly separated from Docent Griggs' group in the arcade's shadows, the opportunity was seized. They were quietly lured or forced through the secluded side gate, vanishing from the heart of the Alamo without a trace. The tarnished commemorative medal, likely dropped or perhaps even intentionally left behind by the abductor during the hurried act, had remained hidden for 2 decades, a silent witness to the crime, until the loose brick finally surrendered its secret. The apprehension of the individual connected to these contractor badges brought a seismic shift to the Rivera family's protracted nightmare. For 20 years, they had lived with the agonizing void of not knowing. While the resolution offered no comfort regarding Mateo and his brother's ultimate fate, it provided the crucial, long-sought answer to how they vanished. The relief was immense, yet inextricably bound to a profound sadness. For Detective Celine Ward, the case's closure brought a sense of grim satisfaction, a testament to her unwavering commitment, but also a poignant reminder of the 2 young lives she had spent decades trying to reclaim. In the aftermath, the Alamo, already a symbol of enduring history, became a stark lesson in contemporary security. Its protocols were rigorously reevaluated and significantly tightened, ensuring that no such vulnerability could ever be exploited again. The case served as a powerful, somber reminder of how, even in seemingly secure public spaces, vigilance is paramount. For San Antonio, the resolution of the Rivera brothers' disappearance became a defining moment, underscoring the enduring power of forensic science and the relentless dedication of investigators to bring truth to light, even after the passage of 2 decades. The medal, once a forgotten trinket, had become the catalyst, an unlikely beacon guiding a long, cold investigation out of the shadows.